Hi, this is Coach Colette, and welcome to another episode of Coach Chat. So you know that my goal is to have real conversations with fellow social entrepreneurs so we can discuss how to stay grounded and healthy as we pursue our ventures. Well, in this episode, my conversation is with Tamar Lucien. She is the founder and CEO of Mental Happy. This is a Y Combinator-backed company that helps people to learn life skills for their emotional well-being. And this startup was born out of her struggle to overcome anxiety. She was grappling with one of those perfect storms where things were going crazy in business and her personal life. And then she hit a moment of clarity when she realized that her struggle was not in vain. She began to realize that others were also struggling to navigate after traumatic life events. So in this episode, we talk about how she formed Mental Happy, which first started by curating wellness kits and now offers a full series of monthly guided practices in an online community. So you're going to hear us talk all about the loneliness epidemic that we are facing and how Mental Happy is making an impact in this mental health issue. You'll learn that she and I are both rampagers, woohoo! And if you're not familiar with Abraham Hicks, you'll learn a little bit more from this episode. And how positive psychology can help us to navigate these challenging events. You'll also learn how she was really good at listening to customer feedback when making pivots from a wellness kit to the Mental Happy online community. So get ready and listen up to this episode of Coach Chat. Hi, this is Coach Colette, and welcome to another episode of Coach Chat. I am really excited for today's conversation, which will be with Tamar Lucien, who is the founder and CEO of Mental Happy, which is a Y Combinator-backed company that helps people to learn life skills for their emotional well-being. And I'm going to ask her a little bit more about Y Combinator too, for those of us that may want to know what are some of those exciting particulars about how to get your startup involved with them. Anyway, this San Francisco-based company was born out of Tamar's struggle to overcome anxiety. And we're also going to be talking about that as founders and as Black women and just people in general, how we deal with anxiety. The Mental Happy community allows individuals to focus on their healing process with a positive mindset and emotional state. So welcome to the podcast, Tamar.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm really excited to learn all about Mental Happy and your journey to starting this venture.
Absolutely.
Great. So can we do a back in time? Can you take us back to the beginning and share with us what was going on with you, either personally or in the world around you, that led you to this idea of Mental Happy?
Yeah, for sure. Oh gosh. So if we go back 4 years in time now, I started Mental Happy at a particularly low place in my life. I started it right at, I worked on another company that was just going worse than horribly. And I had a relationship that also ended absolutely worse than horribly, all at the same time, of course, because when it rains, it pours. And I went through a period where I just noticed like my anxiety was getting worse. I couldn't get myself unstuck from feeling bad about everything that was happening around me. I mean, of course, when things are, one, unexpected, 2, they're traumatic. And 3, no one really talks to you about how to navigate the emotions that you were feeling. I mean, I felt disappointed, angry, sad, mad, like all of the emotions, right? And this lasted for maybe like 5 or 6 weeks. And I became like crushed with the feeling of just, anxiety, and then, sadness. And I was just kind of like, I'm tired of feeling this way. There has to be something I can do to kind of get myself out of this place. Like, I couldn't control the circumstances in the environment, right? Like, I couldn't at that point control a relationship. I couldn't control, the business, which I felt, was kind of spiraled out of my control at the time. But I definitely knew I could control how I felt about what was happening. So I started Mental Happy really just for myself. It began with, before we became a community, an online community that we are now, Mental Happy started with a physical product that we still sell. It's called the Cheer Box. And it's basically just like a wellness kit. I created this box of like goodies and upliftment just for myself. I included a motivational note to myself. I included fun games, fun distractive games that kind of get my mind off of the problem. And then I also included a gratitude jar that a friend had introduced to me. It was just kind of like a go-to, it was kind of like first aid kit for emotions, right? Your emotional wounds, or the wounds that people can't see. And that parlayed into really just spiraling into the cheer boxes being adopted by not only individuals, but we had large corporations buying it for their employees when people had post-traumatic event, maybe illness, injury, loss of a loved one, or that inexplicable lack of self-worthiness that we all feel from time to time. So it really just began in me cheering myself up, and then it just kind of became this company and this business, and something that we hope to continue, that it impacts other people.
That's fantastic. And I know that we connected via LinkedIn and other networks because I read about and heard about the cheer boxes. And that's what really excited me, because you see a lot of those subscription boxes for different meals and other needs. And I thought it was very compelling that you created this idea of a cheer box to share. So it sounds like it was something that you thought like you personally could benefit from, and then found that other people also benefited as well. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, absolutely. We actually, in the beginning, we weren't even selling it. We were just kind of giving it out randomly to some people, and they shared it on their social media. And then we just started getting I think in a week we got, like the first 2 weeks, I think we got over 100 requests to buy it. So yeah, it's just something that people started finding beneficial for them, not only for themselves, but to really do something a little bit more empathetic for someone that they care about as well.
Mm-hmm. And then what led to the pivot to starting the online community?
So the online community just really kind of developed from customer feedback when people would receive the cheerbox, and they would give the cheerbox. They would say, "Oh, well, is there anything, like, how do I sign up to continue to get updated information, or how do I join this movement?" Like, people were just asking questions. And initially it was, if you gave a cheerbox or you received a cheerbox, you'd be invited to our online community. Now it's open enrollment for all. But before it just kind of appeared organically, and people wanting more resources, deeper support, on really how they can take care of themselves and really learn to heal, but leading with a positive mindset in their healing.
Mm-hmm. And what else have you learned from either buyers or this new community that's forming about anxiety or mental health in individuals, or and then I guess also in companies, since you mentioned also that some corporations also were buying the cheer boxes?
Yeah, the biggest thing that the mental happy has taught me in these last 4 years is that people feel deeply alone. As busy as we are, as much as people nowadays are more and more seen through social media. One thing I didn't mention is that even before I started Mental Happy, to cheer myself up, I used to just randomly reach out to people via phone call or text message and just, drop them an encouraging line, just tell them something positive that's going to happen for them that week or that month, or just something encouraging, any encouraging words I could offer. And the amount of people that call me back and text me back is like, oh my God, I can't tell you how much I really needed to hear those words. I really needed, that little extra support. And I mean, these are people who have families, friends, seem like they're living their best life on social media, but we're just so alone in our problems, in our sunken place, in our dark times. So I think the biggest thing the cheerbox has taught me is that, one, when people are going through something, it's not that friends and families don't want to connect. They don't really know how to connect. And the other part is the person who's going through it really just needs that community support and connection with other people who get it, right? People who survived it, lived it. And sometimes you don't find that in your immediate network. So the community just became this place for people to kind of continue to get this positive reinforcement and inspiration while they're making their journey on their way to healing.
Awesome. So you mentioned loneliness, which I think, or being alone, and I'm inferring loneliness from that.
Right.
What are you learning about that, or what is your either personal experience with it, or lessons learned again from this mental happy community?
Yeah. So loneliness is it's a real epidemic. It's something that we cannot live as healthy and long of a life being isolated. We just can't. And we've seen in the last decade, almost 2 decades now, with the increase of technology and social media, the more and more people are connected to their devices, especially in the millennial community. There is a strong correlation between social media and these devices and things that we do all day long with our laptops, and a disconnect between, as millennials, we live typically further away from our family members and where we grew up. Millennials are less likely to be tied to a particular religion, and religion is oftentimes a place where people find community. Millennials are less likely to get married early or even at all. Sometimes now it's starting to increase to not at all. So what we're finding is that as we're moving more and more away from, that home base, people you can count on, friends, family, and community also, it doesn't just offer togetherness and not being alone, but it offers you a higher chance of solving a problem, right? Because you have people around you. The likelihood of, you finding a partner because, you have a community, people you're connected with, and so we're noticing higher instances of anxiety and depression, and as we're moving away from community really does help us heal in so many ways.
And how do you see the mental happy community making an impact in this as it relates to either loneliness or anxiety or
Yeah.
depression?
Yeah. What I noticed, it's very easy to notice in the consumers who are buying into the Cheerbox product and sending it to others that there is a sense of like wanting to care, wanting to be more empathetic. With the employers, we were on that side. It was a lot more of explaining like, hey, these people, they work for you every single day of their lives, basically. And you lose people, you actually lose quite a bit of your staff when these life events occur, whether it's someone had, a baby, or someone, is now a caregiver for a parent, or they're in the hospital, and they don't really hear from that work community. I mean, they hear from their work community when it's like their birthday and, all the positive things, but, in the tough things, people just kind of say, oh, it's a personal matter. Whereas what we were doing with Mental Happy, especially in the corporation space, is just getting them to realize that the employee's personal matter should also be their personal matter. Many companies that we worked with were just very keen to that idea. Some, it took a little bit of kind of realizing and explaining, but definitely once the product was introduced, they started noticing higher return rates back to work and more engagement between, the managers and the employees.
Right. There have been other episodes we've had on this podcast where we've talked about the ability to bring your whole self to work. And it sounds like Mental Happy for companies was aiming to help leaders and managers create that environment. Would that be accurate?
Yes, correct. Yeah. You just can't separate, the person from, you know, however minimal time that they spend in their personal lives. These things do impact not just that individual's work performance, but the entire energy and the morale of the team.
So when you're talking about these life events, how is it structured when people are either were looking to send the boxes or to join the community? Is it organized based on the life event? Because I heard you say, if people have experienced something, they may be able to have higher empathy or understanding because they've gone through it themselves.
Yeah. So with the community, we have two types of leaders in the community. One, community instructors, and then the other are community guides. Community guides are just awesome, amazing people who've really supported and been a part of the early days of the Mental Happy community. And their job is really, one, welcoming new members, really kind of guiding and ushering them through the process. And they tend to be people who have just incredible stories, right? I mean, you don't have to be a celebrity or an influencer. They're just people who've overcome something really great and can relate as new people are coming on board who are also going through something as well. And the instructors provide those tidbits of what we call really practical information that you can just really learn and digest in like 5 or 6 minutes, and something that you can start doing immediately that day. Like, practicing gratitude would be, one of the short nuggets of information, like one of the life skills we teach. It could be positive self-talk, how to say something positive to yourself, and make it and grow it to where it's more of a positive dialogue. And you silence those negative thoughts, you silence those moments, you reduce those moments of anxiety as well.
So what do you think of the episode so far? What are your main takeaways? Before we jump into the next segment, I have a question for you. What's at stake for your health if you continue living your current routine? The thing is, we get so used to doing things in the same ways, we're actually more afraid to make changes than we are to live out our worn-out routines, even if they are causing us to feel ill, stressed, or overwhelmed. Can you imagine what it would be like to wake up in the morning and not have it hurt when you get out of bed, and to feel excited about your day? It is possible when you start within, and I'd like to help you do it. You can visit my website, startwithincoaching.com, and at the top, click Start Here to schedule your complimentary activation call. We can talk about what's going on in your life right now, how you are in your health, and where you would like to be. So go to startwithincoaching.com and click Start Here to start your journey within. I'm hearing you talk a lot about positive dialogue and positive thoughts. Is there a connection to positive psychology that you were aiming to build this model around?
Yeah, I love the study of positive psychology. I think in my worst moments, all of these cognitive behavioral type skills is really what saved me. It's really what got me out of a sunken place. I think if you are, it makes these skill sets makes, oftentimes the inaccessibility of like therapy and things like that, a lot more attainable to someone who maybe can't drive out to a therapist or can't afford $200-300 an hour to sit down and work with someone. There are great skills that are backed by science, were created by amazing psychologists that we've been able to kind of break down into small nuggets in a structure where people can really get the skills. And then if should they choose to obviously, deepen their knowledge base and get more help, certainly, we have other partners that we can outsource and people can get more, licensed therapy help from. But I think the education is really important and the first step to anything else.
And at the start of the episode, I mentioned the fact that your company is a participant of Y Combinator, and I wondered where in that journey of creating Mental Happy did that begin? Was it the beginning, the middle? I'd love for you to share like how that all came about.
Yeah, I'd say the middle, because we got accepted into Y Combinator summer of 2018, so about 2 years after we were formed. I can't say enough good things about my experience with Y Combinator. It is an amazing network of people who always have your back, who will always help you out through the good, the bad, wherever you're at in your journey, in your company. It's just and what's really great now is that there's just so many resources online. I get asked all the time, like, how do I apply? What should I say in my application? All these things. There's just a plethora of resources now that kind of demystify the applying to Y Combinator process. In fact, I'll be on a panel, I think Wednesday, sometime this week. If I don't have my calendar, I can't I can't recant my schedule. But I'll be on a panel this week that talks about really nailing your YC application and kind of demystifying that process. It's hosted by AWS. They might be streaming it, or they should have something on their website about it. But yeah, really great program.
And can you share what you got from the experience of being involved with Y Combinator?
Yeah, one, there's the funding that they give you, right? I think now it's somewhere like $150,000. So you get the initial funding, you get access and exposure to more investors than you can imagine in one day on demo day. And you also, a lot of companies, us included, were lucky enough to, receive checks and investments like on demo day. So, and then aside from that, you always have, like even right now, I have, there are a couple of healthcare companies that are also Y Combinator backed that I'm partnering with on different initiatives. So they will be a good partner for us in terms of, one is like an insurance company that has reached out to us and wanted to add us to their health insurance offerings to their patients, customers, and stuff like that. So there's a tremendous amount of benefits. I think even if, you're still working on the investment piece, there's still great opportunity to really grow your business within the YC network. It's really worked out for us. A lot of our customers come from Y Combinator.
And how did you prepare for your pitch or for demo day? Like how have you been able to get better at telling the story of Mental Happy that excites investors or partners to want to be part of the story?
I think the couple of misconceptions is that you spend all your time like just perfecting your pitch. But I think for me as a product focused CEO, I really focus my time on perfecting the product. I think once you work on the product and it's something people want and they need, and they keep coming back to it and they keep buying, or they keep paying that monthly subscription to the membership, or whatever you have, investments and things like that will follow. The story becomes very easy to tell because the proof is in the pudding, the proof is in the numbers. And it's less about convincing, and it's more of, this is a phenomenal opportunity that is, for us in the past, 3 years has changed over, 10,000 people's lives, right? And we hope to, do 100,000 this year with our membership, and we're extending this opportunity for you. And if you're interested, we'd love for you to join, but if not, we're going to find other partners that align with what we want to do. So you should definitely build something that you're passionate about and not build something that sounds great in a pitch.
And does your passion come from those 10,000 people? Does it come from your personal experience in overcoming anxiety? Some combination of the two?
Yeah, I think initially it started with, definitely selfishly me, right? Everything most founders solve, they're their first customer, right? And then everything after that, even on your like toughest days with business, maybe you do get a lot of no's. Maybe you do, we're really hoping for a particular investor and they turned you down. For me, it is the stories and the emails and the Facebook messages and the Instagram posts. It is all of those things that, I see that people are like, okay, this has really changed my life. Or if I met someone just randomly and they're like, oh yeah, I got a cheerbox once and I still practice my gratitude jar, daily. So when you hear that, people are not only, they got the thing, but they're continually invested in the thing, it definitely creates a strong motivation to keep going. I think there is tremendous power in the human body and the human mind being able to heal itself. And, science will call it like the placebo effect. That's fine. Positive psychologists will call it positive psychology. That's fine. There's just so many, other naturopath doctors will call it, holistic healing. Chiropractors have a term for it. Like everyone on some level believes that your body can function on its own when once left, on its own, and it's not suppressed with like medicine and, all these things that kind of get in the way. With us and what we're doing with Mental Happy is really helping people to have an awareness of that, starting with the mind. Because if you can first accept that there is a strong possibility that you will heal from whatever it is, everything from physical injuries to heartbreak, right? Then that allows your body to absorb that energy, hear it, and then proceed to believe it and heal it and find ways to heal itself. And that could be through specialists and doctors and what have you, but believing it is the first step of that.
That's amazing. I would love to shift gears a little bit and talk a little bit about your self-care journey, because considering this is how Mental Happy was started. So how now do you nurture your mental health and your physical well-being?
Yeah. So I've been doing yoga every morning with my partner. He wakes up at like, I always say he wakes up before God because the sun is not up. But, so he woke me up at like, I don't know, it was probably like 5 something in the morning. I'm more of like a 7:15, 7:30 to feel comfortable kind of person. But I do enjoy doing yoga with him in the morning. It's a great routine. And he talked about, for a long time, as holistic and, woo-woo as I am, I couldn't get into yoga. Like it wasn't really my thing. Like the classes were always crowded. I live here in San Francisco, so yoga studios are like filled to the brim, like all day long. But I've been practicing yoga lately, and it's been amazing. He's been talking about like how it has helped him, heal a leg injury. It keeps his knee pain, at bay, and helps him sleep and all these things. And I was like, well, okay, I kind of need to do something a little bit more gentler to my body, because I've just been more of a hardcore cardio type person most of my life, and was also always very active as a kid with like cheerleading and running track and dance. I danced ballet for a lot of years. So now it's more like, okay, how can I keep up, do some cardio from time to time, but also take care of myself, my body, and just be kinder to it. So yoga helps. I do a lot of walking to self-soothe. Self-soothing tricks are really great. It could be anything from taking a short walk to, speaking to yourself positively, taking a break from, technology and, I don't know, playing a card game, just something distractive for your mind. And I journal. I do this thing called, just writing a better version of whatever situation I'm facing. So whatever problem I'm having, I will literally just write down a page or two of what the best possible outcome could be based on the situation that I'm facing. So I'm a vegetarian, or at least I tell people I'm an aspiring full-time vegetarian, because I still love pepperoni pizzas so much. But for the most part, like, I mean, I wouldn't eat like, beef or anything like that, but pepperoni is like my thing. But yeah, so that's, the fruits, vegetables, and anything healthy and organic, and anything that I can personally make is a form of self-care for me.
Right. And I love that you are walking your talk, if you will, right? That sense of, I really love that piece around the journaling and the best possible outcome, because it really connects to what you were saying before about if your mind can accept the possibility of healing, then your body can start to accept it as well.
Right.
So how do you maintain clarity about what's important to you, both in your personal life and or with your venture?
I maintain clarity by focusing on how something feels to me first. Um, I'm more of an intuitive problem solver. So I will focus on, okay, how does this sit with me? How does it feel? Especially how it feels outside of the conversation. So I will gain clarity if I'm in the middle of something with someone and they're giving me, seemingly good advice or the best advice that they feel like they could ever offer. I will take a step back in a day or two, put that thought away, put it out of my mind. And then when I bring it back up, okay, how does this feel? Do I feel in alignment with it? Or something in my gut feels different? So that's how I gain the most amount of clarity. And so clarity doesn't necessarily to me look like I know the how and the when. I think that's where people confuse clarity or get stuck in a problem. Clarity means, am I accepting this for what it is right now? And am I able to either communicate to myself or visualize to myself what I think could be the best possible outcome for me? And am I willing to let go of the how and the when?
That's fantastic. I have read Deepak Chopra's, the Seven Laws, and this one of them is about detachment. The one that falls on Friday is always about detachment.
Right.
Whenever anybody says what you said about surrender, I'm always like, right, yeah,
Yeah.
surrender, detach from the outcome.
Right. It's the hardest one to do because, even when you write that best case scenario that you could do in your journal, like your best, situation outcome that you want to see, you still have to detach yourself from what you wrote down. What you wrote down, I found that what I write down is either somewhat likely to happen. Usually I get a way better outcome than what I even imagine, but I never get worse than what I imagine. Yeah, the universe typically delivers to you better than what you could have pictured for yourself.
And I've even heard or have recited sometimes with affirmations like this or something better, right? Even
Right.
making that as part of the visualization or
The
part of the
visualization.
affirmation.
Absolutely. Yeah, I
Mhm.
do that a lot. Like it's either this or, my wildest dreams that I didn't even know I had is usually my my ending statement.
Mm-hmm. So given all of that, when you do hit speed bumps or have roadblocks or challenges, how do you stay in flow with all of this universal flow?
Yeah. I so Esther Hicks is like my favorite person. She's like my favorite author. She's my favorite energy human being ever. And she says this quote that I will never forget. I think this is one of the first times I'd come across her work, like maybe 5 years ago. And I heard her say in a recording, it's like a YouTube recording. It was something like, if it is cold outside, go back inside. Like if you are freezing, and shaking uncontrollably because it's just so cold outside, just simply go back inside. Or if something is so heavy that you can barely like hold it up, just put it down. Sometimes like the simplest things, the path of like least resistance is what she calls it, right? Just the simplest things we just don't want to do as human beings. I think mainly because we haven't really discerned between and discernment on that clarity piece, I feel is another thing a lot of people struggle with. We haven't really discerned the difference between letting go and giving up. So, when I have those roadblocks, which I have many, 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 many roadblocks in, entrepreneurship and, that spiritual journey that it is for me. I don't see things as giving up. I see things as letting go of what it is that I may have thought should work in the moment. And I'll give you an example. Before I started Mental Happy, I told you guys that I was working on another project, another startup. And I had a huge potential contract with a school district. And the premise of the startup was it was a staffing platform. And they wanted to work with our company to help students get employed. So huge contract, was going to be, the break we really needed. And the week that the prototype was supposed to launch for them on their end, like nothing worked. And I mean, the sign up was something as simple as like a Google form. It wasn't even like our technology that on a back end was like messing up. It was literally the sign up that was messing up. And I thought to myself, okay, it's been like 2 long, hard years of doing this. And something as simple as like a Google form is not working. So that doesn't sound right. And, we tried it every which way and angle. And it was working for us. It just wasn't working for them. So I just kind of saw that as a sign of, okay, maybe I should put this down for a moment and see what happens. And this was at the same time I started tinkering around with Mental Happy and kind of building that and working on the physical product. And then in the time of like me saying, okay, I'm going to put this down for a minute because while I still want to be an entrepreneur, this seems to be a major roadblock. So I let go of the thing, but I didn't let go of the mission of being a successful entrepreneur, right? And sure enough, like 2 or 3 weeks later, like Mental Happy just kind of exploded the week we launched it. So that's how I see roadblocks, right? It's not a giving up. It's just maybe this is not the path of least resistance that you should be taking.
That's a fantastic story. I'm excited that you shared it because even I can think of it for myself. There are things where I'm like, like you're beating your head up against the wall and you're like, this is going to be the thing. And sometimes just stepping back and saying, all right, maybe not now.
Right.
So thank you for that. And I knew we were going to be kindred spirits once we found out that we both are like Abraham Hicks, like Rampage listeners. So
yes.
that's
I'm a big rampager.
Yeah, that's awesome in and of itself. One of the things that I ask all of my guests to share is, what does start within mean to you?
Yeah, so starting within means to me, first accepting that, really all of the solutions that you could possibly need in life to overcome problems that you're going to encounter are already within you. Like all of the solutions, all of the keys, all of the progress, all of the success, all of the motivation is really already there. And some people find that so hard to believe, but I always give the simplest analogy of when you were born, you did not have to bring the oxygen here with you, right? You didn't have to bring the oxygen. You didn't have to bring the breast milk. You didn't have to bring the water. Like we forget as human beings that so many things were already provided to us. Critical things, oxygen, right? And we don't give that a second thought in the day, most of us, right? So why in that same energy and that same spirit wouldn't solutions that you need, like oxygen to survive here, be inside you? So starting within is first accepting that, okay, the solution is in me somewhere. And then second, quieting my mind enough to really hear and feel what that solution is, and accepting that it may not come in that red hot moment, but accepting that it will come. It always comes.
Wonderful, really wonderful, and really ties up all that we've talked about, and particularly the last bit around detaching from the outcome and detaching from our probably devices as well to be able to quiet the mind.
Right, exactly.
Well, thank you for all of your tidbits and words of wisdom on this episode. I've so enjoyed having this conversation with you.
I love these type of conversations. I thank you so much for keeping this light work, this soul work going. So important on a personal front. And, it's really great that society is starting to catch up that this is important on a business front too, right? Like, you have to do the personal work to be able to show up anywhere in personal life or work. So.
Absolutely. So how can our listeners learn more about Mental Happy and get involved in your community?
Yeah, so the website is mentalhappy.com. We have a really great page on Facebook. I think we're up to 114,000 something followers there. And that is Mental Happy, facebook.com/mentalhappyhumans. And we are also on IG at Mental Happy Life. And we're also on Twitter.
That's amazing. Yeah. And I love the mental happy humans, meaning that we are humans and we can achieve that level of happiness.
Right. Yeah. We're all the same.
So thank you, Tamar, for sharing with us and bringing a bit of happiness to the Start Within tribe. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, this is great. Thank you guys so much. This means the world to me to be able to share with you guys. So thank you for listening.
My pleasure. And that is all that we have today for this episode, but definitely stay tuned for our next episode of Coach Chat. If you enjoyed this episode and haven't already subscribed, you can do so on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you like to listen. You also can connect with me on Instagram at coach_Colette for more inspiration on personal growth and wellness. Stay tuned for another episode of Coach Chat and get ready to start within to finish strong.